last summer, I learned how to drive. And all my friends know me as the world's biggest scaredy cat, which means driving my mother's 12-year-old van that squeaks and honks every time I press the brake is probably not the best idea. But the very first day I sat behind the wheel, I was taught a very important lesson. Fear will always lead you to doubt yourself, but leading your life with confidence and bravery will mask that fear and lead you to a triumphant victory. In Molly Whuppie is Told in the Gutenberg Project, we watch a young girl lead her life with confidence and bravery and teach everyone around her a very important lesson about conquering your fears. Once upon a time, there lived 3 sisters who were deserted in the forest. They searched far and near until they finally came across a beautiful little cottage at the edge of the forest. The youngest of the 3, Molly Whuppie, walked up to the door, puffed out her chest, and knocked 3 times. "Hello, is there anyone that can give us some food and some water? We're terribly cold and so hungry."
"Well, what can I do for you, my 3 darlings? Oh, you're so beautiful. What are you walking out in the dark?"
"Well, we were so cold and no one would let us in. Do you have some food?"
"Well, darlings, I would let you in, but you'll see, my husband will be home soon, and he has a particular enjoyment for little girls."
"Oh, well, that shouldn't be a problem. We will be out before your husband ever knows we were ever here." That won over the old woman, and she let the 3 girls in. However, that woman forgot to mention one important thing. Her husband was a menacing giant. And so as the 3 girls curled up by the fire and fell asleep, hours later, they were woken up by a giant.
"Who is in my house? Who smells? I smell children. What are you doing in my house?"
"Well, hello, kind sir. My name is Molly Whuppie, and these are my 2 sisters. Well, we were terribly cold, and your kind wife let us stay a few hours, but we should really be leaving."
"Not so fast, Molly Whuppie. You need to spend the night, and I need you to wear these twine ropes. And if you don't, you bet you're going to be my dinner."
Molly Whuppie wouldn't dare argue with the giant, so she slipped on the twine ropes and fell right back asleep. But she had a hunch as she woke up and watched the giant placing golden ropes on his own daughters. So that night, as the giant fell soundly asleep, Molly Whuppie woke up, crawled over to the giant's 3 daughters, and slipped off the golden ropes, putting the twine ropes on the giant's daughters and taking the golden ropes for her and her sisters. And Molly Whuppie was right. As the giant woke up, not even before the sun had risen upon the horizon, dragging his 3 daughters out, he beat them mercilessly until they were dead. And Molly Whuppie's blood ran cold as she grabbed her 2 sisters and made a run for the king's palace. There, she told the king everything, and finally, the king had one favor to ask Molly Whuppie.
"Molly Whuppie, you seem very brave and very strong. I need you to head back to the giant's house and get me his sword."
"Your Majesty, did you not hear us? We just came from there. Why are you sending us back?"
"Because, Molly Whuppie, your strength will never let you fail. Now, off you go."
The giant left no room for debate, and Molly Whuppie got up and ran over the hills through the forest and stood in front of the giant's door. She opened the door and crept in ever so quietly, searching for the sword. "All right, Molly Whuppie, it should be somewhere around. Okay, note to self, don't wake the sleeping giant. No, 2, yeah. All right, he's still sleeping." So Molly Whuppie grabbed the sword and made a run for it, and she safely made it back to the king's palace. As she handed over the sword, the king had one more task for her.
"Molly Whuppie, seeing as you brought back this sword, I need you to go back to the giant's house and get me his purse under his pillow."
"Purse under his pillow, your Majesty. All right, well, off I go." And Molly Whuppie did that. She ran over the hills, through the forest, and again stood in front of the giant's door. The giant had no knowledge that Molly Whuppie stole his sword, but this time, Molly Whuppie wasn't too quiet. "All right, Molly Whuppie, don't wake the sleeping giant." Lifting the pillow, reaching for the purse. get back. And the giant woke up with a sound, chasing after Molly Whuppie. Molly Whuppie, come back! I will never be back here calling, so goodbye. And she ran all the way to the king's palace, handing over her purse. And the next morning, as Molly Whuppie finally woke up, the king had one final fateful task. Molly Whuppie, rise and shine, darling. I need you to head back to the giant's house and get me his golden ring. Your Majesty, a purse and a sword were one thing, but a ring? Oh, good heavens, you're going to get me killed. Molly Whuppie, never doubt yourself, darling. Your strength will lead you to a courageous victory. Now off you go. And so Molly Whuppie made the trek once again, climbing over the hill, searching her way through the forest, and stood in front of the giant's door. All right, Molly Whuppie, no fear. So she opened the door, let herself in, and walked all the way, creeping up to the giant ever so quietly, reaching for the ring. Barely. Molly Whuppie, what do you think you're doing? I've got you now. I'm going to. Don't necessarily know what I'm going to do with you. What would you do if you were me? Well, I'd put you in a bag with a needle, some thread, and some scissors, and a cat and a dog, just for good measure. Well, that sounds perfect. So the giant listened to Molly Whuppie, tying her up to the ceiling in a bag with a cat, dog, needle, and thread, and some scissors. However, Molly Whuppie was quite clever. As soon as the giant had left, she cut herself a hole, slipped out, threw the wife in, and sewed the bag up until it looked like nothing had happened. However, as Molly Whuppie made a run for it, the giant grabbed the bag down and started beating him. Molly Whuppie! Molly Whuppie! Who's that? My wife! And the giant made a run for it, chasing after Molly Whuppie. Molly Whuppie! Come back! I shall never be back here again, kind sir. Goodbye. And Molly Whuppie made it safely back to the king's palace, where as she handed over the ring, she taught everyone around her a very important lesson. Yes, she doubted herself, but her confidence and her bravery led her to a triumphant victory. All right, how long did I go?
7:32.
Shoot.
Don't worry, we can fix it. I have ideas. All right, hop off and hop back on. See you soon.
Cool.